Hello, good people of YouTube. Sealord here, and today I'm expanding upon a topic that was being discussed in the stream chat last night. And that's right, we are back live streaming again. My ISP has been so kind to actually provide me with the internet that I'm paying them $180 a month for. It's a crazy concept to them, but they actually came through with it, so thankfully we're back streaming for now, at least until they decide that that's not going to happen anymore. But anyway, so the question was, well, a pretty common question that I get asked quite a bit, usually along the lines of, hey, I am new to the game, I'm looking to go down, either battleship line, cruiser line, destroyer line. What line should I go down? And last night, of course, I gave the normal answer of, well, normally when I'm asked that question, I say one or two things. One, if you just want me to point you in the direction of a specific line, American Battleship Line. They're great all-around battleships. Great for teaching you the ins and out of the battleship class and how to battleship and all that jazz. And they're quite forgiving to newer players. I either give them that one if they just want to be pointed in the direction of a line, or I say, well, what do you want to do with your battleship? You want to brawl, you want to snipe, you want to play at mid-range, and then from there, we go on and talk about the various classes, like I've done in all the, best battleship for 2023 videos, best cruiser for 2023 videos, insert year here. I do those videos like once a year based upon, how the game has evolved or devolved. If you want to check those out, I'll link them in the description down below. But then they want to know a little bit more about the ins and outs of the games and some suggestions. And one thing that I didn't mention that is a very important thing and a mistake that is commonly made by both newer and even older players, that it's still pretty common. And I think really a lot of the annoyance and I don't want to say stress, but a lot of the, shall we say, more, what's a good word for it? More of the unfortunate experiences that some players have in this game could be avoided by doing this one simple thing, and that is trying out different classes. It's a super simple concept that a lot of players don't really do. And you'd be surprised. There's players that have played this game for years. They've stuck to like one class, maybe two. And doing so is robbing yourself of a couple of things. First of all, there's a lot of fun to be had in other classes. And you might be thinking, well, how could someone play this game for years and never try out another class? I mean, really, if you look at it, the casual player that only hops on for couple hours a day, sure, they play this game for like 2 or 3 years, they'll probably grind out most of that particular class, and they may stop playing after that. I mean, not everyone sticks with a game for 10 years like some of us have, right? So yeah, there's plenty of content there, especially if you're playing one of the big 3 classes: battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. And even within those classes, there's subsets like I was just talking about. You have the more snipey battleships, the more mid-range battleships, the more close-range battleships. Destroyers, you have the gunboat destroyers, the torpedo destroyers, the hybrid destroyers. And I'm talking about a hybrid of like gunboat and torpedo boat, right? And cruisers, light cruisers, medium cruisers, super large cruisers, like of course the Dutch cruisers, or like even if you want to bring premiums into the mix, like the Aegir and the Stalingrad and all that jazz. So there's a lot to experience in those lines, sure, but getting outside of that comfort zone will allow you to not only have more fun, because, I mean, shoot, if I never left battleships, I would never know the glory of Paulo Emilio. I would never know the goofy fun of like the run and gun boats, like the French ones. Like, I think the fact that you're just running around at like 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers away from a ship, and you're so freaking fast that you can literally see the target ship lose their mind, try to hit you. That's a little goofy, right? So if you never leave your class, you don't get to have those moments in the game. Second of all, knowing how all the classes work is a huge advantage to you. Because the best way to know how to deal with another ship in this game is to understand how it works. And to speak in battleship terms, because I know a lot of you guys watching this channel are, of course, filthy battleship mains like myself. If you're trying to deal with, say, Yamato, easy example, and you don't know its armor layout, you don't know about the cheeks. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Yami's armor scheme has cheeks. It's this weird octagonal shaped citadel to where you can citadel the thing pretty easily by shooting at her cheeks below the number 2 turret, and by extension just behind, or it's just behind her, just in front of the number 3 turret in the rear, because of the weird geometry of the citadel. So where pretty much every single other battleship in the game, when it's that steeply angled to you, you're boned. Not with the Yami. You can punch right through that sucker if you have even like larger or more punchy cruiser caliber guns, heavy cruiser caliber guns, like of course like the Petro. You can get through that armor and you can poke her in the citadel on her cheeks. And if you didn't know that, well, you would, well, probably just throw your shells into the superstructure or into the turrets at close range rather than poking her in her cheeks, and well, now you've got a dead Yami, right? Conversely too, like using some other battleship examples like we talked about in yesterday's video with the Marco Polo, the hangar deck, it's a slat of armor that's at a flat 90-degree angle. You can just blast the Marco Polo and the Giuseppe Verdi right there in the hangar decks and get good pin damage from the stern, or like the transom sterns of the British battleships at higher tiers, like the Lion, the Conqueror, and the Thunderer. Those are just flat slats of 32 millimeters of armor, which means you can punch right through those boys and pin them, or even citadel them in certain circumstances, right? So, and then again, that's using a very basic example, using like armor schemes, right? So you don't know that if you haven't played the ship, or if you haven't at least taken a look at the ship, right? If you never touch it, or don't bother to at least read up on it or watch some guides on it, you don't know that those weaknesses are there. Same thing for like, you want to get a little more in depth, dispersion patterns. You may not know the Japanese have this really wonky dispersion pattern, and the closer you get to them, the wonkier it gets. You may not know that the kind of like the converse with the Soviet battleships, for example. They have the opposite effect. So the further away you get from, the less accurate their guns. So the best way to deal with a Soviet battleship is to not let it get close to you and deal with it at range. And then, of course, you get into things like turret traverse and turret angles and the peculiarities of like the AP and the HE. You don't know that if you haven't played those battleships. And battleships are a pretty simple class. Big gun, big HP pool, slow. I just described like 80% of battleships, right? When you get to cruisers and destroyers and the shall not be named classes, there's a whole lot more mechanics there that you need to know. Why? Because none of those classes are going anywhere. Despite what people might say on the subreddit and on the Discord, it might start all these discussions about, the classes aren't going anywhere, right? Wargaming's put time and money into them. They're not going to just pull the plug on them. So if you're going to stay in the game, playing those classes is the best way to understand how to beat them. And they've made it so easy now to, grind one line and then be able to grind a second line. Even in the same nation, you can keep moving your commanders around now. It's like if you've got well, of course, obviously, when you talk about respeccing and such too, that is a factor. But if like you got a ship that you're grinding on, it's super easy to just hop into another game right now and just keep going with what you got going, right? So why not? Why not play a different class as your side grind to your main grind, right? I mean, obviously, if you're really strapped for credits, that's one thing. But if you got a decent amount of credits and you're getting a little bored of your main grind, right? Start a side grind. Like if you're grinding up the American battleships, Why not grind up the American destroyers while you're at it, or the German destroyers, or the French destroyers? If you're grinding up the, I don't know, British cruisers, why not hop in the German submarines? Why not hop in the Japanese CVs and see what's going on there? I mean, especially if, you're going up the line. Let's say you're at, tier 4 now, and tier 5, tier 6, and you're running into CVs now. You're wondering, well, how the hell do I deal with these guys? Go play some. See what's frustrating to deal with. Oh, it's really annoying when that person, focuses their flak on this side. How do they do that? What's going on here? Why is this a big issue for me? And once you start learning what's frustrating for that class, you can then go do that in your ship, right? So, you can't do that if you don't play other classes. And I'm not saying become a filthy submarine main, or a filthy CV main, or a filthy DD main. I'm just saying get some experience in them. And at bare minimum, go watch videos, not even on my channel, right? Just wherever you can find them, of these classes being played by people that are good at them. Go watch some streams on Twitch of some CV mains. Go watch some streams of some submarine players. Watch some videos of some submarine players. Watch some videos of CV players, of DD players, of cruiser players, of battleship players, so you can see what's going on and you can learn how to deal with it, rather than just sticking your head in the ground and complaining about it on, I was going to say the forums, but I keep forgetting the forums are shut down, on the subreddit, or on Discord, or in the YouTube comment section. Yes, there are plenty of things that are wrong with a variety of classes in the game. It is stupid that the submarines can sit at periscope depth and go full blast. CV spotting is a thing that Wargaming still hasn't addressed yet. There are plenty of mechanics that haven't been fixed or need to be adjusted about any number of ships of any number of classes in this game. Why hasn't the Kitakaze been nerfed yet? Right? So there's, of course, a lot wrong with this game. It is very much true, but you still can't learn how to deal with the basic mechanics that aren't going to change if you don't ever touch the class, or at least do a little bit more reading into that class of ship. And that, my friends, is the biggest mistake you can make in this game. Ignoring all other classes and just becoming a single class player. Try out the variety that the game gives you. It's a free-to-play game. Grinding up a cruiser line, or a DD line, or a CV line, or a submarine line on the side isn't going to bankrupt you, right? So, variety is the spice of life. Get a taste of it, become a better player, and have a more enjoyable time in the game for it. So guys, that's my 2 cents for you guys today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday and wonderful rest of your weekend. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment. It helps out on the YouTube side of things. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.